Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in, welcome on, and welcome back to another episode of the Direct Podcast. 3 episodes in 1 week, David. We are full go this week here on the Direct Podcast. Everything you need to know about the universes you love. I'm here, your host, Matt Ricky, and I'm joined as always by my friend, co-host, box office correspondent, senior editor at thedirect.com, Mr. David Thompson. David, happy Friday. You ready for the weekend?
Happy Friday. I am ready for the weekend. It is funny. This episode dropped on a Thursday and the rest are on Sundays. And like in the moment, you asked me that question a few weeks ago of like, why is this happening? And I gave you a great answer. Now that it's happening, why is this happening? Right?
Yeah.
Like, couldn't this have just dropped Sunday night? Because it is a little bit weird. Now we have to wait 10 days. And I'm like explaining to my buddies, they're like, so it's on Thursday this week, but then Sunday next week. And I'm like, yeah, man, like it made sense. Now it doesn't. Just go for it. It's just here for the vibes.
When you explained it to me, it did make sense, but I had that thought last night and I forgot what you even said because I'm like, it doesn't make any sense.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. Love to see it. We are not alone. There's somebody in the room with us, a familiar face, a familiar voice here on the Direct Podcast. The content machine himself, you know him, you love him, co-creator of everything you know about the universes you love, Mr. Liam Crowley. Back in the orange corner. How we doing, Liam?
Back in the orange corner, indeed. Home for the weekend for my mom's birthday, and the penguin rocks. I'm so happy to be back in this world. It was one of those things where, like, kind of going into the show, I don't want to say I had like the Marvel blinders on, but like, after 2021, some of the Marvel TV shows felt like so auxiliary. Like they didn't feel like they really like lived in the MCU.
Sure.
Like, we on this podcast, Matt, were like genuinely thinking in the back half of Falcon Winter Soldier, there's a legitimate chance Chadwick Boseman filmed one scene as T'Challa for the show. Like we genuinely bought into that. Today, I wouldn't make that bet about anything going on with the MCU shows because it just feels like they're so, Marvel Television. It's a whole separate brand now. That all being said, my comparison going into the Penguin was like, is this going to scratch the need to be back in the Batman universe that Matt Reeves created? And through this one episode, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I miss the Caped Crusader, but he is not as integral to Gotham as I thought he would be.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? That's not new for Batman shit, man. We've gotten the Gotham show. We got a Joker movie. Like the Gotham universe is self-serving. I feel like it really survives outside. Now, Liam, are you telling me Haley Steinfeld's not showing up in Agatha all along? Because boy, would I like her to.
Is that a legitimate? Is there a reason for her to be there?
All right here, this beautiful brain of mine, my friend. Young Avengers, Billy Maximoff, Haley. I'm trying to get Haley Steinfeld in as many things as possible because I don't think another Hawkeye is coming.
That I never considered that, but I don't know. Agatha feels so on its own,
Yeah, sure.
WandaVision universe. I think Vision's gonna pop up. That's my big take.
Ooh. White Vision?
White Vision, man.
Love it.
Yeah.
You'd love to see it. Liam, me and David both just rewatched the Batman. Where are you on a Batman rewatch status in your life?
Well, I've seen the movie like 15 times.
Oh shit. You should never rewatch it again. That's so many times.
I love the Batman.
It's great.
Like, it is genuinely one of my favorite movies ever made. And I like came to the conclusion a couple months after the first time I saw it that it is the best Batman movie. Like The Dark Knight is a better film, but never have I felt like Bruce Wayne, maybe not so much Bruce Wayne because that still needs development, but Batman, the character, literally felt ripped from a graphic novel panel thrown onto the screen to the point where you see the news nowadays about Greg Fraser, I believe the cinematographer from the first Batman movie, was said to might be unavailable for the Batman Part 2. And there's like a pretty big discourse right now where people are like, delay it, wait until he's ready. Because like there's so many little intricacies about that movie that make Gotham feel so special and make it feel so authentic to the Gotham I read growing up, the Gotham I watched in the animated series growing up. And yeah, it's been many a rewatches. I did not rewatch the Batman right before seeing the first episode of The Penguin, but so much of it is so like tattooed in my brain. Like I know the whole opening monologue by heart and I never studied it. Like I just
love that.
I've watched it so many times. So yeah, fantastic movie. And I'm super, super happy that James Gunn is pretty, I don't want to say hands off because that almost implies that him being hands on would be problematic. And he's a great creative, but I'm very grateful that DC is letting this blossom into what it can be, despite the fact that they have their own vision for the shared universe.
Feels like Ryan Coogler, not to bring it all back to the MCU all the time, but like they let Ryan Coogler build his thing with Black Panther, and you can like really tell those two movies are like specifically styled like that. I'm not saying Black Panther movies don't feel like MCU movies, but I feel like you can feel the Ryan Coogler in those movies more than you can feel other directors in other movies, save for James Gunn, of course. But it's very exciting. I don't know who the funniest Batman is, but the funniest Batman joke might be Thumb Drive.
That is a great joke. The
He's
Batman's surprisingly
definitely
funny.
Yes, and I don't think he's funny, but the thumb drive joke is such a Batman joke.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of the Batman, like I like totally echo everything Liam's saying in terms of the Batman. I would say like you nailed it in the sense of like it's the second best Batman movie to me because The Dark Knight's a better film. Like that's how I like would frame it in my head. Like I would still rather rewatch The Dark Knight than I'd rather rewatch the Batman. I love the Batman. I think like one of my favorite comics for Batman and just in general is Batman Year One. And that's the graphic novel, I feel like, especially like with him and Gordon. I love him and Gordon in that, I would love to see, more of Jeffrey Wright as Gordon in like this show, writers in this universe, get his own spinoff. Because I think he is like, to me, he was the best like ancillary character in that film personally. I just remember first time watching the Batman, just on this really quickly, and rewatching it, I was reminded when it's like hidden in the chaos is the element. When I remember when he said the element, I'm like, oh shit, here we go. He's like, and I'm there too. I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. Like, I remember the second that happened, like, this is gonna be amazing, and it was, man. And this show's great too. Like, it really like, I just mentioned how Gordon's the best second character. In a way, Gotham is the best second character in the Batman, and like that's all we're getting. I loved how it started off. Like, it's not even a spoiler at all. It picks up right where we left off, right? It was really cool. It was really satisfying, is really what it was. Watching the Batman, then diving into this, it's like perfect. It's like it's a very natural, very organic like spinoff. And not to get too deep into it real quick though, I will say like I'm like the one that's like, oh, I'd love to see Pattinson pop up in this series. It's probably not going to happen right now after the first episode. It doesn't need to happen. I'm not dying for it, and that is, if anything else, that's the biggest win I can say for episode 1.
For sure. I definitely, Liam, if I'm not mistaken, we called the opening monologue heading into the Batman.
You called the opening monologue. I can't take credit for that. I remember you were on the train of we need an inner monologue. We need the little, I don't know what the term for comics, but like the
thought bubble.
Thought bubble, but not even the thought bubble. It's like there'll be a square off to the corner.
The narration, like that's how I would refer. Yeah,
that's what Matt was. He was stamping that pretty hardcore. And I remember I went to not like a press screening. It was like a early fan screening.
Yeah, me too.
Because I didn't have it like that back in 2022. And as soon as the monologue hit, I was like, oh snap. And I think that was one of I probably still have the text conversation of like, you nailed the opening monologue.
You love to see it. Now, Liam, you think we're coming on here to talk about the Penguin. We're not going to talk about the Penguin at all because we have a much bigger thing to talk about. #GetGun was a movement that started many years ago. And speaking of you having it like that, the boy got gunned. You were at the Batman event. Tell us all about it. What was it like?
Well, the whole event or the James Gunn portion?
Everything, dude. Paint me a word picture.
What stood out?
Well, this was the biggest premiere I've ever been to. And it's wild to say that because it was at a venue I've been to before for premieres. Like I saw Knock at the Cabin there before, and I think one other movie that escapes me right now. But the massive press line, love what they did with the carpet and just kind of like the Penguin logo and making it feel like we were in Gotham on the carpet. And yeah, I spoke with a lot of people involved in the show who like, it's cool because this show is so revolved around characters that like definitely exist in the comics, but no one's gonna really know who they are unless you're like deep into the Batman lore. And so the couple that stuck out was like Colin Farrell was really cool to give me time for 2 questions towards the end of the press line, and he also clarified a question which was hilarious because I was asking him about the connection with Barry Keoghan and the Joker and the fact that they're both from northern Dublin and were Banshees of Inisherin castmates and all that. And he clarified it for me when he could have easily taken my poor framing of the question and dodged it. But he was like, are you asking when I had a conversation with him, like before or after this show? And I was like, oh, well, whatever your most recent one was. And he gave me a nice answer. But yeah, there were a couple people that were cool to talk to. When James Gunn first arrived, him and Peter Safran took their photos with all the photographers, and then he was coming down. And I have the video, and I should probably share it at some point. James is walking by. I'm like, James, couple quick questions. And he goes, all I want to do is talk about superhero movies. And then he kept walking, and it wasn't like disrespect. He was clearly told no press because, I mean, if you follow him on any social media, this dude can't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
if I like open it, it just would have been a spiral. Anyways, we did get to talk briefly at the after party, and I was speaking with his assistant, who was really cool. This guy became his assistant within the last year and a half. So like he's joining James on this journey as head of DC Studios and all that. So he's seeing a James Gunn that is so, I don't want to say so different from like the Guardians James Gunn, but like, it's you're heading a studio versus being a director of a franchise that at the time when it started was so like, secondary Marvel and all that.
Right.
Unknown, really.
Yeah. And then so James got up. I asked him if we could snag a photo, and I brought my buddy from home, Nick Dodge. Shout out Nick.
Shout out Nick. Always shout out Nick.
Super supportive of my career, and so it's nice to now be in a position where I can like
that's awesome.
Give back to the people that have been ride or die for me. And so we took our photo with James, and I was just like, I know you're not going to say anything, but like, we're very stoked about the Green Lantern show. Like that is a character with so much untapped potential. And I was like, to me and my friend, I was like, both of our favorite single season of television of all time is True Detective season 1. So the fact that all of these reports right now are linking the tonality of Green Lantern, the show, to True Detective season 1 is awesome. And so I didn't like even try to pry about like, Josh Brolin or McConaughey or any of that stuff. I was like, listen, it's going to be a dope show. And I think you got the right tonality for it. And he was like, yeah, thanks, man. Like, wish we could have talked, but you know how it is. And I was like, I totally get it. But yeah, no, I ramble, but the after party setting was what really made it as big as it could be, because they transformed this whole like venue into the Iceberg Lounge. And then the portion where like you got food was 44 below, like the club within the club.
Yeah. So
everything felt like, I felt like if I overheard a conversation, I'd hear something about like moving drops or something, like, it felt so authentic to the world. All in all, yes, very, very cool experience. And it definitely made me a lot more extra invested in the show, not because I needed the extra investment, but like, I don't know, it made it feel like a big deal. And not to say that any of us went into the Penguin being like, oh, this will be like chill and fun. Like, no, there's a lot of stake in the show. And I think that's evident too by the Sunday primetime time slot. Like that's reserved for Game of Thrones.
Right.
The fact that giving it to the Penguin is no slouch.
It ain't nothing. It definitely ain't nothing. We love to hear it. Make sure to follow Liam on all the socials, Liam T. Crowley, to check out all of that coverage of the Batman, the Penguin premiere party. And let's dive into that very show, the Penguin, right here, right now, your starting lineup for the Penguin. Now, a lot of characters in this episode, like so many characters in this episode. So I'm going to focus on the big three here. It is Colin Farrell as Oz Cobb. Hate it. The Penguin. Kristen Melody. Help me, Liam.
Melody,
yeah.
Kristen Melody is Sophia Falcone, and your boy Renee Feliz as Victor Aguilar. Those are the big three. Who is there? Anybody I'm missing as like a super important character? I guess the other Falcone.
Clancy Brown comes in.
Oh, I forgot Clancy Brown. Yes.
Did you intentionally, after saying Sophia Falcone, when you did the buzz, were you intentionally doing the
subconsciously, I think maybe a little bit. Clancy Brown's a gigantic human being. That's my last part on the starting lineup. Let's get into it. Overall thoughts, Liam Crowley, episode 1, The Penguin, Matt Reeves' universe is back. What were your thoughts?
So great to be back in this world again. Like, this feels so authentically set in the Batman universe that Matt Reeves created 2 years ago. And I said it at the top, like, I was fearful that this would feel so auxiliary. And the reality is, like, what I think it's a line he says, like, it's a big city. It is a big city.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like, I don't feel like where's Batman because, like, it's a big city. And so it's cool to know that we're exploring a corner and an underbelly that would not be given its due if we were so centralized on just like the Batman of it all. And the biggest props I'll give this first episode too is I think that this is the best example in Batman, like beyond comics media, so live action or animation, the best example of the Falcones and the Maronis, because they existed in the Dark Knight trilogy, but it just felt like generic crime families that are they exist because they need to exist to kind of emphasize the whole like roadmap of crime in Gotham. This show really made me feel, in this first episode, really made me feel how much they hate each other and how crucial it is to play them against each other in order to work your way up the crime ladder. And I thought it was really, really cool how Oz was like doing that with the ring and planting seeds of dissent within Sophia, and even just the opening scene with the Falcone that I already forget his name because he got popped so quick.
Alberto.
Oh, Alberto. Yeah.
Frick.
There's a lot of cool chess pieces at play, and I really like how they set it up.
Yeah, it's definitely a vibe that was captured. If I could just go real quick, David, I feel like just off of that, obviously, like Colin Farrell's Penguin was such a standout character in the Batman because of the look, because of the accent, because of just the way he talked to people and the confidence he had despite no reason to have any of it. And that's just Oswald Cobblepot is like one of the best Batman villains you can have for so many reasons, that being one of them. I feel like they saw John Turturro in the Batman just absolutely crush. Shohei Ohtani dialed in on the mob vibe that they wanted for the crime of Gotham, John Turturro in the Batman, and they said, okay, let's take that tone and make it a show, because I feel like they just crushed it. It's smooth, it's confident, it's got a swagger to it. Every single mob person talking to one another, there's a swagger to it, despite the fact that literally the city's underwater and like there's no order anywhere in the world. And I just think that tonally, that they just it's a little bit of Better Call Saul, it's a little bit of Game of Thrones. It's not as much Sopranos as I thought, even though it looks and feels exactly like Sopranos. And I just feel like they captured all the right pieces and put them together. And then when you add in the plot, you add in the story, obviously one episode in, the restraint I feel to just dial it into filling in the void and just addressing the vacuum of losing John Turturro's character. Like just addressing that in the first episode, and that is the plot of the show moving forward, is how do we strategically fill in that void. I think that is such an awesome, grounded, small world story to build Gotham through, and the more Gotham gets built up in this show, the better the Batman 2 is going to be. And I just think that is such a good service to this universe, and they found the perfect vehicle in Colin Farrell, who is so committed, it feels like, to this character. And, he's obviously disappeared physically, but man alive, can you not find Colin Farrell in this performance? No. Even when you get past the prosthetics, man, he is just so dialed in Penguin. We've seen some great Penguins in the past. I don't remember who the guy who played him in Gotham is, but like that is like an incredible Penguin in that CW show.
Yeah.
This is a top tier lead a show ass Penguin, and I'm very excited at the pieces they put around him to make it work. David Thompson, your thoughts?
Yeah, and by the way, it sucks how John Turturro couldn't make it back for Falcone in this series. It's Mark Strong of all people now. I don't know if it's gonna... Mark Strong, like DC, just a weird connection there. Anyway, I forgot
about Shazam.
Yeah, it's like okay, this is just kind of the DC way of it.
He was Sinestro in the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
Oh yeah, wasn't Taika Waititi in that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Anyway, that just reminded me of that because it was weird when the photo. I guess he's gonna appear in some sense in the show, like maybe a flashback or something, but like
Definitely.
or images. Like it was weird, like when the image popped up, it was not it was not the Falcone we knew from the Batman. That was the one. That was a gripe I had. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like it made it feel, and I hate to be like this, it kind of made it feel like a TV cheap spinoff. That's the one thing where it's like, wait, why isn't that the same guy? Anyway, that doesn't really matter. In terms of episode one, for me, I pretty much completely agree with everything you guys have been saying. Honestly, I mean, I think the casting's great. You know, I might talk about this a little bit later in spoilers, but like the kid who's playing Vic stood out to me. Like all that really worked for me. I was a little nervous going in, and so far so good on that end. And just in general, like I am really impressed. Beyond like you guys nailed so many different pieces, especially what you were just going on, Matt. I think the intrigue and the plot of this show surprised me in a big way where they did a great job from the get-go. I was so into it, right? They started off so hot where it basically I was able to follow it and just intensely follow it the entire, hour long. This is going to be an 8-hour story, which is really exciting to me. And it just felt like you guys ever seen those like zoom in photo videos where you keep zooming in and it keeps creating like a bigger image and then you can dive deeper and deeper. That's what this feels like. It feels like the Batman, we were more zoomed out, and now with the Penguin, we're just zooming in. And it's not blurrier, it's even more detailed, right? And we're just getting more and you don't realize how much is there. And that's kind of what it felt like with me getting into the Falcone family, right? Because it was just like we just got a little glance at it in the Batman, and now we're seeing the whole picture, and the twist in the Batman, how Catwoman is his daughter, Zoe Kravitz's character, and it's like, holy shit, that's crazy. And now we're seeing the other kids, right? her half siblings, quote unquote, that I'm sure she doesn't know, at least not in actuality. But yeah, it's definitely off to a great start for me so far. Like this show's so up my alley. I was so excited for it coming in. Like we've talked about, Matt, Agatha, Agatha and this are releasing back to back at least this week. MCU, DC, and like that show's not really necessarily like for me, quote unquote, like on the surface level. This one is like, and
Yeah.
it is, and it's doing a great job of it so far.
On that, what a perfect 1-2 punch we have. Like such opposite shows. Like
Yeah.
so much fun, so much drama mixed, back to back. I really like this combo we have for the next few weeks.
Both purple or plum.
Plum, purple, exactly. Let me get some of my purple back. So funny. All right, that's it. And it wouldn't be a Batman review if we didn't bring in our own in-house Batman, the third chair of the Direct Podcast, Mr. Michael Keaton, for spoilers.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
All right, plenty of winners to go around for episode 1 of The Penguin. Liam, you get the first pick of the litter. Who's your biggest winner? Who or what is your biggest winner coming out of The Penguin?
Oh, that's a really good question. I wish I could stall. I wish I could stall.
We can pass. You can pass.
Yeah, let us see the
Check.
good ones.
Check.
I'm going to pass for now, and I'll come back to me for a second.
Okay. David Thompson, your biggest winner.
Yeah, I'm gonna focus it on something. So it's funny. Was it you yesterday? Who was it yesterday, Matt, with Agatha, who was talking about Catherine Hahn and Joe Locke, that dynamic? That was you,
your boy.
Matt. That was your boy. Well, I'm gonna steal that idea with Oz and Vic, which I think is that on a whole nother level in this show. And it's like it was funny because you said like these shows are so different, obviously, but it's like weird similarities in that sense where it's like our main character with this random plucked out kid, and they're just together for like
so random.
I loved it. Like I mentioned it in pre-spoilers, but this Vic character, I was nervous about going into the show. Like I was at the Hall H panel for the Penguin at Comic-Con, and that was really interesting. Matt Reeves is such a funny guy. Like he's very childlike in terms of his excitement level. He just gets so excited about this stuff, and he was just like going on and on. But the Vic actor was, he was a younger guy, obviously, and it was just really quiet. You could tell, just kind of like, kind of wasn't out of his shell, like maybe nervous. It's like this giant packed, panel. And I was like, okay, like, we'll see. Like, I'm curious and it was such a mystery. I loved how this guy this kid Vic is just there circumstantially, right? It's just this random. I love the randomness of it, and like the randomness to me though brought out like kind of a reality. It felt realistic, where it's like this is how Oz would be reacting to having just killed the Falcone kid, going down the thing. They're trying to rip stuff off and steal, and then he just basically uses this kid. Is going to kill him, by the way. All the intent in the world to kill him. And Vic, through his stuttering and nervousness, shows his worth. And by the end, he is the one that sets up the car and puts the brick down and does the thing and does the job. And like, it felt so deserved by the end of the episode when they're sitting there drinking the Slurpees, drinking the mixed up Slurpees. Like
Suicides.
I loved that. I was so it was one of those where my expectations were low. I was nervous about it, and they just swung and hit it out of the park. And I'm invested now. I care about Vic. I care about them as a duo, and I'm so excited for the future.
You said satisfying earlier. This relationship is satisfying. Like, it came out of nowhere. It happened right away. And it was the episode, really. It was these, like, him showing Vic the ropes and just throughout the whole thing. And then we get that payoff at the end. We also get that great moment with Sophia where, that you said out of circumstance, Vic is the one that didn't get away. And that's why he's now with Oz. And Sophia found one of the other kids. And he saw what happened to him. And there's layers to it too. Like that, I think on one level that shows that Oz is a better person than Sophia, because Sophia off this kid right away, right? But also Oz did that. Like Oz got that kid killed. Like, so he's also still just a bad guy, but there's something about Vic. I got to think for strays. I got to think for, call what it is, two people with disabilities trying to make it in this world. And I think it's a really awesome dynamic that they built so quickly, so organically. It's one of those things that doesn't make sense on paper, but boy, does it play. It really plays. It reminds me kind of a little bit of, you guys see Shrinking on Apple TV? Jason Segel's got a relationship with one of his patients that's similar to this. Like it's kind of just offbeat partners, but it's I think that was a very big surprise having a second lead in this episode, and it works so well.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me, by the way, of that kid in the gang in the Batman with the half painted face, and like kind of like his personality. Like it's all about how do you make it in this Gotham, right? How do you survive this Gotham City? And we see that, time and time again with all these different characters.
Departed vibes across the board as well, which is very exciting to see.
A little bit. Playing both sides too.
Absolutely.
Double agent.
Who's the rep? Liam, you ready, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I just thinking about it, I want to go a little unconventional. I'm so happy that the score is still as good as it is. Woo! Because that was a big thing going in. I didn't even process it. And then we got the talent sheet for the premiere, and Michael Giacchino, and I want to like Mick Giacchino. I think it's his son.
It's his son. Okay.
Or
I'll Google it.
There's two Giacchinos involved in the score of this movie.
That's good for all of us.
And he's obviously doesn't have the total reins, but like as soon as those familiar like the Batman dun 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 dun, like when those started creeping at the beginning, I was like, okay, we're safe here. Like this is being treated with the level of care and precision that the movie was. And I also liked how it uniquely built its own score throughout the entire episode, and also a nice mix of soundtrack with I always love when they reference a song early and then that song becomes the end credit song.
Oh, it's the best. Entourage.
Dolly Parton
was great. I thought it was a nice little bow tie on this whole thing.
Yeah. Fun fact about 9 to 5, the same opening riff as Rubber Band Man from Infinity War. Bam, 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 bam. And then 9 to 5 hits that. It's good stuff. I love that song. I think the score, I mean, Giacchino's, has there been a better composer for our kind of surface area of movies over the last 5 years? Like, he has done nothing but crush it over and over. And rewatching the Batman, it's one of the best Batman scores. Like, it's hard to beat Hans Zimmer. Like those movies are so iconic, and like that is it's hard to beat. And like obviously, Danny Elfman set the bar where it was, and he's goated for that. But Giacchino's holding his own with the Zimmers and Elfmans of the world as far as Batman score. And to continue it here in the Penguin, like you said, Liam, I think a very impressive thing from a young goat and Michael Giacchino, who
Mick
is
is
all,
his son, by the way.
love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Giacchino
Family
also
business.
doing Fantastic Four, which if you have not heard that score yet, whoa. And I mean, whoa.
They're showing it off for a reason.
It's fantastic. See what I did? See, because it's the Fantastic Four, guys. That's how,
Yeah,
how
say
they
that
come
again.
up. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Shout out Alan Tunick.
Say it again.
So you guys put me in a tough spot. I understand, getting creative, not taking chalk. You kind of took Colin Farrell and Penguin with Vic, so I'm going to leave him off the board.
Yeah.
It's Sophia Falcone, guys. It's the mother. I mean, what a fucking batshit crazy human this is. And like immediately, like so immediately, just you can feel her bursting at the seams with every word she says, but she's still so soft spoken and calm. And it's every single Kristen Milioti role we've ever seen, but she's batshit crazy, and it's awesome. And it's such an awesome. It's easy. It's a softball as far as like, who's going to be the antagonist in this movie? Another Falcone. Perfect, right? And I was kind of worried when that, the party boy Falcone showed up. I was like, man, is this guy going to be like the House of the Dragon kid? Not the one with the eye patch. Is that what this is going to be like throughout this? Like, are we going to have like the George W. Bush of it all going on throughout this thing? But he ended up getting iced early, and Sophia Falcone's better for it because it gives her this
that's funny.
unhinged attitude the entire time. And it's such a perfect setup for Oz to play with. And we know she's going to get ahead of Oz at some point, and I can't wait for that moment because she's going to get that bad bitch thing going. And you guys know more than anything, I love a bad bitch, and she is personified as a bad bitch. So I mean, such a immediate standout. We love the main character. We love the supporting cast. We love the villain already. Everything's moving forward with positive vibes as far as the characters go. Just don't fuck up the execution, and we got a hell of a show on our hands.
I love the introduction of where it's like, yeah, she's fresh out of Arkham. Like, let's see. And she's like, I've been revitalized or whatever. And it's like
Rehabilitated.
And I'm like, all that means is you definitely have not. And she just looked so crazy from the very beginning. It was, you mentioned the soft spokenness, but it's a soft spokenness with like the eyes just like so wide open and just terrifying. And it is funny because it's like you can kind of see, based on the Falcone we saw in the Batman, how these would be the kids that he raised in a sense. It's like douchebag guy, doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't bring security,
John Ralphio
gets popped, done. And then there's this crazy girl, right? There's this nuts woman who does think ahead, right? Who is, I think, like an intellect in terms of like, the streets and how this works and the families and cares about her family name and like cares about her family. Where I don't think, the guy did who died necessarily. I feel like more so cared about just like the power and the money and whatever that leads to. So yeah, I totally agree. And I was surprised in this first episode to see just how crazy she was. Like, I really enjoyed the dinner scene or the lunch scene, I guess, more so, just with her and Oz and like going back and forth and basically like them both knowing they're lying and both know they're kind of faking it right now. And they had to later see the reaction. And then later when she's got Oz tied up and just like kind of the switch flipping, but less of a switch flip, more of just like more of an unveiling of what she actually is. And she played that so well. And based on the reviews I've seen, like she only gets better and only takes over the show even more. So that's really exciting.
You mentioned the crazy eyes, a concept we learned in How I Met Your Mother, right? And obviously Kristen Milioti, How I Met Your Mother. Do you guys remember the actress who played the crazy eyes girls in How I Met Your Mother? Marina Baccarin, who plays Vanessa in Deadpool and Wolverine. It's all connected, guys. It's all connected. Everything all
Mark
together.
Strong.
Yeah, you love to see it. You love to see it. Those are three solid winners. Go into what maybe didn't work so well, what didn't play off as good. Now, we did institute a new rule recently, Liam, where if you don't have a loser, you don't have to say a loser. You could just have another winner or put one of your top plays in here. But, what didn't work so well for you? What do you think could be improved on heading into episode 2, Mr. Liam Crowley?
That's a really tough question because nothing springs out to me off the top of my head. The one thing I did have a little bit of an issue with was the runtime. I thought it was a little long, but at the same time, like it's a premiere episode. We're laying the foundation. It's our first time back in this world in over 2.5 years. So I don't know how much of my issue with the runtime is just because my attention span is low and how much I actually felt it dragged. I think there was,
Yeah.
I honestly, what I will say, I thought before Clancy Brown was introduced, I thought there was an appropriate endpoint. But at the same time, we needed to get Clancy Brown to have the whole magical moment with the ring and play them against each other. So yeah, I'm gonna tentatively say the runtime just because I don't want. I think that this runtime worked for a premiere episode, but I don't think it should continue to be feeling like this every week moving forward.
Yeah, I'm gonna support you. I that was gonna be my biggest loser as well. I did felt it dragged a little bit. It's one of those things, like you watch season 1 of Game of Thrones. Obviously, Game of Thrones, one of, if not the best show of our lifetime, right? That first season, people say all the time, it's tough because there is so much dialogue, and that's what HBO is. It's great dialogue. It's not television, it's HBO. You'll get that, and I do feel like it had a few different points where it could have cut off. It was a long episode, but I'm not unhappy with where it ended. So it's a weird loser to have. I just think, obviously, any other comic book movie, we would have had a big action scene to kind of break that up a little bit, right? But it didn't really have that here, and I don't think we're going to have a lot of it. We'll get car chases, we'll get gunfights, shit like that. But I think that I'm with you in that it dragged. I can't really put my finger on it, but I mean, objectively, long as fuck episode. Like, and especially not its fault, but Thursday Night Football, I didn't watch it until this morning. Any other time I would have watched it that evening. So maybe that's a little bit of part of it too, but not so much the show's fault. I can't put a finger on it, but I'm with you, Liam. I felt a somewhat of a drag, maybe a cobbled foot holding it back from moving as fast as it could. Because boy, man, is he wilded like a piglet, this motherfucker.
He sure is.
So much of it. It's great.
My losers when they showed the foot, man. I wanted to turn the TV off. That was terrible. I literally was like, oh, like I do not want to see that. And it's like, man, like how many prosthetics can this guy wear? Like as many as possible, I guess, head to toe.
Did you hear about the penguin cock?
I did hear about the penguin cock.
I mean, that's pretty cool, right? That's commitment to a character. You have to imagine. Do we see a naked penguin? Yeah.
We kind of already did.
A little bit.
We had our time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
by the way,
fleeting moment.
It's kind of a top play, kind of a winner. I love how it's TVMA and they're saying like the F-bomb all the time. I'm like, oh, this is sweet. Like, why can't can the Batman Part 2 be rated R? That would be amazing.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Oh, I noticed. Yeah. Having F-bombs left, right, and center was like, whoa, this is gritty Gotham.
Because in the second in the Batman, it's only Happy Fucking Halloween. That's it. That's the only well, I mean, it's PG-13, and that's when they still got one in. But I was like, yeah, this is awesome, you know. And it's like, and it does. It's just HBO. It just feels natural. It just feels, you know, normal and adult. But for a DC show, it's kind of I mean, it's at least like a pop culture, modern, like popular character Batman show. It's definitely kind of a little bit different. Honestly, like, yeah, the runtime. I think for me, it felt kind of like 2 episodes to me. And I got like Liam nailed it. It's before you meet Maroni, where like you could have cut the show before then, but then once you do that, then you get a satisfying ending in my head. And you could have just done less. I think a different studio might have cut it into 2 episodes. Like this could have been like a premiere that was 2 episodes where, you know, right after we meet Sophia, it cuts and then we go on to the next one because a lot happens throughout this entire thing. Like, I mean, time passes by, all these, you know, characters are introduced. I loved that aspect. So yeah, honestly, I loved it. I don't think I have like another like major loser of any kind because especially for me, like something that I was concerned about that really won me over is we've kind of talked about Oz's place in this world. And like by the end, him being like, I want to run this city. I'm going to run this city. And it's like, and you can see the strategy and you can see like how the families are working against each other and how we've already kind of mentioned it, like the actual relationship they have and like the vitriol they share between each other and like how Oz is such a wild card and like that whole conversation with him and his mom was so fantastic. And like that showed, I feel like that really like just, uncovered who this guy actually is. And then, putting him then right back into the world, like how he works and how maybe he could come to power, which I think it would be a great ending to this entire series heading into the Batman 2, where he is more of a prominent kingpin.
Yeah, I think that it's there's so many pieces in this episode, but it never felt disjointed. And also, the Penguin's a part of every single piece. Like I
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. There's not a scene he's not involved in, at least in some capacity, right? So it's really cool to see them be able to set so much up. Back to the drag time for just 1 second, where it's gonna be a bummer is it's what happened with the Mandalorian a lot of the time, is that you have this episode with so much in it, don't follow it up with a nothing episode. You know what I mean? If you're gonna have this super long episode with so much packed, to follow that up with a filler, it's gonna make me think like, well, why didn't we just split that up? Why didn't we make the week to week a little more enjoyable? So you just hope it pays off, right? That's kind of what we're going for in all of this. Let's move into top plays. Best moments, lines, action scenes, whatever it might be. Liam Crowley, what was your favorite moment coming out of the Penguin episode 1?
Another great question.
I'm full of them, buddy. I can keep asking. You know what I mean? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
No, it's a hot dog. Thank you.
Yeah, bread has to be disconnected.
Subs though, man.
Subs.
A sub's not a sandwich either. It's a sub.
Oh, a sub's
there
a
we
sandwich.
go.
It's Subway sandwiches.
Submarine sandwich. Yeah.
I don't know.
What about a euro? Is that a
good
sandwich?
question.
A euro. What is a euro?
I think Euro's kind
A hero, or however you call it.
No, it's a pita bread.
Yeah,
Pita
yeah.
bread. Gyro.
Gyro.
Oh, gyro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I'll go the opening scene.
Yeah.
When Oz just kind of took out Birdo. Also, maybe this is like a very skewed from my perspective of watching the episode at the premiere for the first time, because the actor who played Birdo was like going by, and I don't know, usually at premieres, if you're there, like there's a lot of actors in the show and only a select few go to the premiere. So when I saw him, and then he was one of the first people I saw on screen, I was like, oh, here comes this guy who's probably going to have this massive character arc throughout this whole season of television, and they just popped him right then and there. So I think that kind of level of shock value really set in that this is not going to be your like safe show to just bridge the gap and be a cash grab while we wait for part 2 to get made. There's actually going to be some twists and turns and a genuinely warranted story to tell, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. David Thompson, top play.
Yeah, I had a couple. I would say the journey of the ring, and like basically
Very
kind of
cool.
like like that, setting the stage very early on. I think it was in that opening scene of like, oh, it was my father's, and like now I'm wearing it, and like all that, and like what all that meant, and the connections throughout, and then like finalizing like his plan. He explains at the end like, oh, because like he has the ring, it must be them, right? And he can basically pin it on them for that reason. Thought that was awesome. Other than that, I liked the move when the Penguin hid in the trunk, because it's like, all right, we got to put this character in some action scenes. What's his move, right? what's he gonna do? He's gonna outsmart him in the trunk. He's gonna hide out in the trunk and run away. Didn't even work, but I thought that was a pretty funny moment. I've already mentioned a few of them. Like, it was more than just a play, and it was more of a moment, I guess. But that whole scene with the mom, I already mentioned that. That was just so good. That introduction of the mom, and like the way they pronounce things the same way, like in that really funny accent. Noise. Oh yeah, he's like a noise. And I'm like, oh my gosh, nurse. Like, how is that the pronunciation of nurse? I loved it.
It's Jersey, baby.
I loved it. That was just like so funny to me. Like, I was so glad I had closed captions on. It actually made it funnier because you like knew what they were supposed to be saying. Anyway, yes, that was really great. And the other like little top play I had, which just was like an awesome moment, was like, it's technically Plum, in the car.
You took it right out from me. Purple car, man.
Yeah.
Purple car, top play. It's awesome.
Purple jacket.
It's a Maserati. It's legit. The bullet hole keeps coming back over and over and over. Purple car, always sick.
Can I, on that note, they had the car at the premiere.
Yeah.
And as we were leaving, people were just taking pictures in front of the car. Little did we know that you could have gone in the car and taken a photo. So as we were leaving, we were going to grab a photo in the car. This group of 4 before us got in the car, and like, again, I'm not going to analyze whether they were inebriated or not, but the woman who was sitting in the driver's seat of the Penguin car at the premiere started it, turned the ignition, and like it revved up, and like someone came over like, you can't do that.
Can't start the car.
I also had no idea. I thought it was just like a prop car. No,
And
it
the
was,
keys were in the car. Like
That's not her fault. Why the fuck are the keys in the car?
why are you turning the keys to a car on the 5th floor of the mall of freaking
Fast and Furious, that's why. But
guns it.
yeah,
you're right that she shouldn't have started it. Why the hell are the keys in the car?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's ridiculous. It's very funny. No,
as much authenticity as possible, you know.
yeah. We want to make danger a part of this iceberg lounge that we're in. No, the purple car I loved. I loved how it was a part of the whole thing. The fact that Sophia spots them from across the street. Yeah, no shit. You're in a purple Maserati. Yeah, like that's not inconspicuous. Don't take your other, hoopty that you have in Jersey and use that as your car when you're trying to spy on people. Another very small one, and it's so film bro, like whoever directed this episode had this idea and they were all like, oh, what a move. When they get on the subway and there's 2 open handicap seats and Oz is not sit down. And you see Vic notice that about Oz. It's those little, Breaking Bad moments that we're going to get where like, he's actually a good guy kind of thing, when obviously he's a very terrible human being who's going to get this Vic kid in a lot of trouble until one day he decides he needs to get out of trouble. So he turns to the vigilante of the city to become something more than what he's been trained to be.
Man, do I not want that? Holy shit.
Oh, why not? I think it's so awesome.
No, no Joker or no Robin in this universe, please.
You don't think so?
Vic can be the Penguin's Robin without having to actually be Robin.
Sure. It could be.
That's what I think, at least.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, and then Sophia's whole monologue before she shoots the kid, just unbelievable, really. Just a tone setter. She's the craziest of the, like, even in the Batman, like the Riddler was crazy, but he wasn't like this. Like he even has that moment, like my power's up here, I'm not strong with my hands kind of thing. Sophia doesn't give a fuck. Like she will just go out there and do it herself. Very Joker-esque. Very cool.
Arkham.
Arkham. And it's just, man, and rewatching the Batman and the whole Arkham and Wayne's thing and how that's going to play out, and just
she told Liam she'd love to talk to the Joker. So
love it. There you go. We're out here. We are out here, ladies and gentlemen. That has been the Penguin episode 1 review. We'll be back not next week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, for the Penguin, it'll be a week from Monday.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing that at the end of our Monday episode. So it's going to be news plus Penguin. We changed the format to shorten up the Monday episodes and immediately right back in it with reviews.
Change the schedule. Yep. If it happens.
It's just how it is, man. That's just how it is. Liam Crowley, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. Always good to have you around the universes you love. What can we be looking out for on your socials coming up?
Yeah, so all socials at Liam T. Crowley, and obviously those Penguin red carpet interviews are all compiled on Comic Books YouTube channel. So if you want to watch a good 20 minutes of actors and producers and directors breaking down the world you just kind of saw, it's definitely a good watch. And then from here, we just kind of go where the wind blows.
Love it.
It seems like there's always stuff happening, and I'm sure I could double check my schedule and find stuff that's going on. But for now, AEW Dynamite
Hell yeah.
Slam is next Wednesday, which I think I'm more so attending as a fan than doing any press for it. But all that's to say, there's a lot of good content right now, from both people who are creating it, the studios, to people who are commenting on it, like this podcast. And do your best to support the people who put in the time and effort for this kind of stuff, because it's valuable, and a lot of us, make our careers off of it after all. So we really all appreciate when anyone listens to this kind of stuff, and we're able to collectively celebrate stuff that's genuinely good. So shout out the Penguin for kind of restoring that feeling.
Talk about dope shit with your friends. It's really fun. Liam, what's your most anticipated movie yet to release in 2024?
Ooh, I don't know why Nosferatu just came to my mind immediately.
Yeah, the poster just dropped.
I don't like horror, but I love like when I say I don't like horror, I'm just scared of horror. But
Sure.
when they put like studio budget and like get A-list names for a horror property,
Mm.
oh, this is cool. I'm willing to put myself through this. So that, or
Nosferatu.
I just watched Gladiator for the first time. So
Dude.
Oh yeah.
very hyped for Gladiator 2. They're gonna
Isn't Gladiator just Game of Thrones the movie? Isn't it great?
Kinda.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
It's good stuff. I am filling in one of my biggest blind spots. I have never seen Whiplash once in my
Ooh.
life ever, and I will be seeing it in theaters tonight.
I saw that was back in theaters. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
That movie broke me. So I'm
Oh shit.
It's a
Look-
quick runtime too.
Yeah,
Like, speaking of-
145. I was very excited about
Yeah,
that.
it's like as long as this Penguin episode.
Jeez. And it was long. We're not wrong in saying that. It was a long episode.
It was long. It was over an hour.
That's crazy. Thank you so much, Liam. David, thank you. And check us out Monday where we have everything you need to know about the universes you love. For David and Liam, I'm Matt. Until then, we'll see you next time.